Hey, what's up, everybody? So it's been a couple of weeks since I shot video. This is why somebody asked me on my Facebook post when I originally posted about, here's the rods I built. They said, hey, can you build me a couple of cobia rods? This is why I said no. So I started working on this rod probably 2 or 3 weeks ago and just have not been able to get back to it. So I finally finished wrapping the guides and all the other stuff. So I'm going to show you that real quick, and then we're going to get into marbling. All right, so here's what I've done. Here I did just some red and white and blue, bands down here at the bottom. And then for my hook keeper, I just did like a red and a blue band inside the white. Okay. And then I did red with a white trim band, then white with a blue. Then I stopped all the trim bands blue, red. Notice the theme: white, blue, red, white, blue, red. So I decided I would completely change up, how this rod was built, add some extra color to it. And now I'm going to get ready to marble it and also finish the guides off. So one of the tricks that I have always a little bit struggled with is actually getting the guides all lined up, perfectly straight. So for me, the best thing I can do, see if I can do this, is you just kind of have to eyeball it, right? Let's see, there we go, something like that. So I mean, you just kind of have to eyeball it until they're, all straight. And I got to go through that one more time. But the camera angle's like really off here. Can't find where's the camera. There we go. So they look pretty good right now. I don't have my glasses on, but yeah, so that's kind of a tricky part of building a rod to me. But that's something you definitely have to do, while these guides are not, pro coated over. You can still move them around. They do move underneath these threads, and you just have to make sure that they're all straight. So anyway, red, white, and blue guides, with red and white and blue on some of the wraps. So we'll see how this turns out. All right, so I'm probably going to do this off camera, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this Pro Coat right here. I don't like the high build or anything like this. Just the regular Pro Coat works really good. So what you have to do is you can get these little mixing cups. Let me grab one here. Probably should have grabbed one before I got on camera, right? But still learning this whole video thing, right? So anyway, you get one of these little mixing cups, and there's a couple ways that you can, dole this out. Is we have these little syringes. You can, squirt exactly the right amount in there, and that'll get you, really close to a perfect 50-50 mixture, because that's what these are going to be. And then for the marbling, what I'm actually going to do is I think I'm going to do red, white, and blue marbling. Sometimes I'll even spray paint the some of the blank, but this one I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm just going to use the red, white, and blue. But I use these little cups here, and what I'll do is I'll pour just a little bit of the Pro Coat, and I'll probably mix 2 cups of Pro Coat, because I think I'm going to do, oh man, I got to find some more of these. But I'm going to probably do 2 cups of Pro Coat. Go ahead and get, a clear coat on there, and then, I'll get my dye mixed first. And it's just a little bit of pigment. You can get there's a liquid pigment that tends to drift a lot more. It tends to move around. And then there's a powder pigment that tends to kind of stay in place. You put a little bit and you kind of shape it up the way you want, as you'll see. And it kind of stays where it is. And so you can actually use those as techniques to, to make the rod look the way you want. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the liquid pigment, and what you do is you just take one of these little stir sticks here, one of these little guys here, and you just dip it in the pigment and kind of swirl it around. I'll probably do that on camera, but I'm not going to mix the Pro Coat on camera. I'm going to get everything ready to go, so then that way, I can really show you how we do the Pro Coat on the guides and how we do the marbling. I think this is, for me, this was what really excited me about being able to build my own rods, was that I could do this marbling technique and make it look completely unique. So anyway, we're going to do that, and I'll be back. Okay, so I'm gonna do a quick inventory of everything we need. We need the Part A resin, Part B hardener of the Pro Coat. Sorry, didn't mean to bump that. We've got a couple of mix cups with some stir sticks. We've got our aluminum trays with the little sticks to mix in the pigment. I've got pearl powder pigment, which I think I'm gonna mix with some white. It's a white pearl, red, blue, white. And then here's the magic that we use for actually doing the marbling, and it's, you know, dental picks and things of that nature. Just these little, you know, pieces right here that can really work the magic and make the marbling look really, really cool. So that's really the inventory. Wanted to get it all kind of laid out so everybody could see it. So I'm going to get everything mixed up and ready to roll. All right, so we're ready to go now. I have both cups mixed of my Pro Coat. So I'll set those in the picture. And I have everything ready to roll. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to take, this way you guys can watch from above. Let me see if I can change this. So I'm probably going to disappear. At least you guys will hopefully be able to see this fishing rod. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pour out just a little bit of my Pro Coat in each one of these pans here. And if there's going to be some background noise, I'm sorry. I have my garage open. There's some guys cutting grass a couple doors down. So probably going to have a little bit of distraction here. There's cars going by, so I apologize for that. Can't really control that right now. So anyway, once those are in there, then what I'm going to do is, you see the white is kind of milky. It doesn't look, you know, great. So I'm going to go ahead and get a good mix on that. And that way we're ready to go. But on the Pro Coat, you know, you just tend to mix a little slow, right? You don't want to mix it real fast and vigorously because you can get a lot of air bubbles in it. There's one thing I did not go over, and that's that we need an alcohol burner. And what the alcohol burner allows us to do is we'll actually run that just real lightly underneath the what you call it, where we put the Pro Coat on, and it'll get out any of the air bubbles. But you see, I just took, you know, my stick and just tried to, you know, I took a pretty good bit of pigment and got this mixing in with the Pro Coat. So I just try to get a good solid mixture of that. Get that done. And if you need a little bit more, you can always add a little bit. A lot of times I'll cut these mix sticks, you know, in two, and then that way, you know I've got a good mix and it's not like translucent, but we'll see how that works. Okay, the blue is definitely a lot thicker. It's a lot thicker pigment, probably won't need quite as much here. So you see, I just get a blob of it, you know, and start working it in. Alright, so we got blue. Okay. Now we'll get a little red here. That's a little bit much. This is kind of in between. But like I said, you don't need just a ton of this pigment to get things, you know, the way you want it. And plus, I think too much pigment, you know, takes away from the Pro Coat. So I'm just going to go ahead and get this where it's not looking pink. Try to get a good mix in here. Alright. And just so you know too, I have this rod in a spinner. I'll show you that here at the end probably. But there's a rod spinner and it spins at maybe, you know, like 8 to 10 RPM. It's just enough to keep everything turning well without slinging the Pro Coat everywhere. So, all right, here's a little bit of the powder. Okay, take just a little bit of that if I can get it out. Actually, I was going to mix some white in there, but I think I'm going to just make this, you know, just pearl. I think it'll give it a really neat effect. It's kind of almost a silver pearl. Give it just a little bit of shininess to it, so I think will be neat from an effect standpoint. So that's kind of how that's starting to look. It's probably not great on camera. I don't know how well you can see that, but it's definitely kind of a silvery, you know, translucent kind of a thing. And as you can see, my hands are getting a little messy, so I'm gonna have to take a towel and wipe that off before I get started here. Get a good mix. All right, so we are pretty much ready to go at this point to get some marbling done. Get this stuff out of the way. The towel off. Sure, my camera looks good here. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my spinner spinning. Okay, this slowly turns the rod. Go ahead. Actually, what I'm going to do first real quick is I'm going to take a little alcohol. I'm going to clean that rod off real good because there's a little bit of stuff on there. So I shall be right back. All right, rod's cleaned off. Now I'm going to go ahead and start getting this thing ready to go for marbling. So what I'll do, I'll go ahead and start in this area, which that way you guys can see it, and then I'll probably turn the cameras off and do the rest of it. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to marble up to the first two guides and this back end of the rod itself, the butt end of it. So what you do is you just take your Pro Coat and you put a thin coat, you know, on here. I'm going to go ahead and get it on these threads while I'm at it. Now, if you're not using threads that are color fast, you actually have to put a coat of thread conditioner on here to keep it from getting faded in the sun. Or, you know, in some cases I haven't done it because it makes a really cool effect, because the Pro Coat kind of sinks in and gives it almost a translucence to it. That's what I did with some tiger thread on one of my copper rods. It actually looks really super cool. It turned it much darker. And one of the great things about this is you don't have to worry too much about unevenness, is it will kind of even itself out. What I try to do is, you know, kind of smoothen everything out, make sure I cover all the surfaces. And if I do happen to get a little bit much, then yeah, thanks for the lawnmower guys here, but I'll try to speak up. I think they're about done over there, I hope, anyway. But if you get it on just a little thick, you can take your brush on the bottom end and kind of wipe it off, and it'll get out pretty good. You know, like I said, the good thing is you don't have to worry too much about it. I'll go ahead and get this thread or this guide while I'm at it. This may be off camera, so I may cut this out of the video here. Let's see if I can move my phone camera, maybe that'll help. So what I'm going to do is I've already, done these threads, but I'm going to make sure that I get a thin or a coat right here. Make sure you get up under this guide right here so that you kind of seal it off from water getting in it. You really want a good solid coat right there. But you can just take your brush and just kind of lay it on the rod and hold it steady and get a pretty good edge here. So I usually try to do that, and there are a few bubbles that I see, so I will have to get the alcohol burner on that. All right, so let me move this. This may fade in and out a little bit with my phone, but that's all right. So now that we have a thin coat on it's kind of acts as a base coat, now we can start our marbling process. So, you can go kind of light to dark, dark to light, lots of different ways to put this together. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to start with some white and just see what happens. And then I may do some red over top and some blue over top. But you just kind of, dab this on. And I don't really have too many preconceived notions about how the marbling is going to look before I start working. Sometimes I have, but, a lot of times it just kind of comes together. Whoops, dropped the red one, so I need another stick. But again, this is, to me, some of the uniqueness of all of this, is you can really kind of give it all kinds of different effects that you want. A lot of times I'll try to do a little bit of a mix. I'll try to, overlap some and things of that nature. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna start working some red and some blue in here. I might actually want just a little more pigment on there, because it looks like it may be a little pink. I don't know, should be okay. Yeah, I'm gonna actually get a little bit more pigment on there. Make this a little bit darker. And that's the thing I like about using the Pro Coat, is you have plenty of time to work. You don't have to worry about, time. If you're using the high build or something like that, it may dry just a little faster from what I remember. I like the slowest drying time, and it seems to cure the hardest too. Good things that come to those who wait, you know what I'm saying? Alright, so let's go ahead and get some of this red back on there. That looks better. And as you can see, some of this is starting to run and make moves here. And that's kind of what you want in a lot of cases, like, with the liquid pigment, I like to see, movement. Like I said, the powder pigment tends to stay a little bit more. I'm just kind of sprinkling some things on here just to see what it's going to look like. And like I said, I like a little bit of overlap on some of this. One thing I have found is I do not like to get too close to my threads. It will kind of bleed into the threads, and I don't like that look very much. Got that one a little bit close. That one may bleed, darn it. As you see, I just kind of got some blobs going right now. You know, and I'm putting them on with kind of varying thicknesses and things of that nature. So that's when I start taking these picks, you know, and I start just kind of moving some things around. Trying to get some cool effects, and you have to be real light here because you can kind of move the pigment and create gaps in it, which they will tend to fill up. But you know, a lot of times I'm just trying to do some different shapes here. Let's see if I can make sure this doesn't run. And sometimes I've found, you know, I'll try to pick up a little bit of pigment, you know, and kind of lay it down in some other places. Kind of makes for some really cool effects, but all I'm just trying to do is just kind of spread this out and give it some like really neat, you know, kind of effects. Try a couple of things here. I think I like this blue on top of the white in a lot of cases. Whoops. Because it kind of makes the blue pop a little bit. Let's see if I can dot a couple of red dots in here somewhere. Try to get them to not turn pink. You know, but this, like I said, this is the part, you know, that's kind of fun and artistic, you know, because you're not really, you don't have to be like exact on anything. You know, you're just trying to make some really cool effects, you know, with some of the color mixtures you're doing. Once again, so sorry for the background noise. Kind of surprised my neighbor's kids aren't coming over here to say, "Hi, Mr. Jim." They usually do. They're good friends. Sweet kids, too. But I usually try not to leave too many, like, you know, kind of straight lines. I try to make sure that I mix everything out, you know, push it around, you know, do some different things with it and give it some really kind of cool effects here. That's what I'm really kind of gunning for. I'll put just a little bit of white in the middle of that blue right here. Like right. Ah, crap. Not too much white. I want just a little bit. Just want a little dot of white right there. I think that'll. Wipe that off just a little bit. I'm getting some bleed over from some things that I don't necessarily want. So I'll spot I want a little bit of red on here. Put another dot of red right there. You know, like I said, the cool thing is you can really just make this as individual as you want. You know, and every turn, this thing, you know, kind of changes how it looks. You know, because of the the pigment starting to move, it will tend to drift a little on you and starts to mix, which, I like. Some of the powdered pigments don't do that. They kind of stay in place a little bit more. And, that's cool. It just depends on the effect you're trying to get. And I'm still kind of playing around with stuff I like. Any color right there. One of the things you're definitely going to want to do is epoxy over this, because a lot of times, you can leave some little holes, in some places where you don't necessarily want them. Leave holes in the pigment itself. So yeah, I'm not using a whole lot of that pearl. I wasn't as impressed with it as I thought I would be. And sometimes I'll use some different tool. I'll use this more, kind of spade-like tool. It just moves things around, slightly differently. A little bit thicker swaths here. So sometimes I use that. I'm not as big a fan, and then other times I'll use this other little tool just to kind of move some things around. But again, probably the 90% of my work is done with just a regular dental pig. For the main reason is it's not as thick, and you can make you can kind of turn it a little bit and pick up the pigment a little bit, or you can just make it kind of razor thin, and how it comes out. So, which I tend to like the effects of the razor thin. So, as you notice, I got some completely different effects back here on the back end. Let me see if I can get this camera to focus right there. See if I can get out of the way where it'll focus on it. It doesn't look great. I'll go ahead and get you a shot of this part in the back here. I just love these little splashes of color, though. It's really, really, neat to me. What's kind of interesting, I'll show you this. There's a spot up here kind of at the top that I'm almost making kind of look like a crown, just because of the way the pigment swirled. You're probably sitting here thinking, Jim, when do you stop? You stop whenever you think you like what you see. That's what I do. And it varies for every rod I build, as to what that point is. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stop recording, but that's the basic gist of marbling, right there. And what I'll do is I'll take a shot, take some videos, as this thing finishes off, of what it's going to look like. But I think this is going to turn out really, really cool looking. So I learned a little lesson today. Do not mix all your Pro Coat before you're ready. Let me show you what happened. All right, so nothing major, but you see I'm already getting some hardening of this Pro Coat right here. So this was the original batch that I mixed up probably less than an hour ago. So it was starting to really thicken up and get difficult to work with. So I ended up mixing up some more for just the rod guides, right? So that was kind of a little snafu today, but hey, at least I know I got a good mix done. So here's how the marbling has turned out. Okay, here's the end of the rod where we did the stripes, the red, white, and blue stripes. I think that turned out really cool looking. All right, let's move down here. We got some real interesting mixing here. I've been trying to get some of the bubbles out. So there we go, now I got a good focus. But you see a lot of the mixing and swirling kind of like right through this area. Pretty neat looking. Okay, as we move down, you can see the differences where like the blue was just put on the red blank versus where it was put on the white, completely different effects. And you see how this definitely moves around, like, this didn't look like this earlier, but as everything starts to, move around, starts to cure and all that and keep spinning, things do tend to move a little bit. And then went down past this guide. See, so everything looks slightly different. Okay, one thing I'm going to try to zoom in on this. Make sure you get, dang it. Let's see. Yeah, make sure you get behind the guides there, kind of right back in here. You'll see it as it comes around right there. You definitely want that little blob of Pro Coat back there because that'll protect against anything getting back there. It looks like I have a little bubble maybe in that one, which usually I try to get out with the, oh yeah, I got a big bubble there. I'm gonna see if I can get that out with the alcohol burner, but sometimes at this point it may be slightly too late. But where'd it go? Oh crap, I'm sitting here, just spilled my Pro Coat. Be back. All right, I had a couple little emergencies there, but anyway, I saw a bubble on one of these guides as it was spinning. So I had to go get my alcohol burner and try to get that out. So it looks better now. Have a few little small bubbles in here, but nothing terrible. Nothing I can't deal with. Goodness, it's really hard. This focus, there we go. So anyway, got everything spun and taken care of. Everything looks really good. So love the marbling job. Well, again, I'll probably try to think what I'm going to do when these dry. I've got an American flag sticker, fish sticker, and then a regular American flag sticker that are going to go on here somewhere. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it over top of one of these marbling areas. Maybe a spot I don't like as well, and then I'll do another coat of epoxy over top of that, of the Pro Coat. So anyway, hopefully everybody likes that. Man, gotta love this. It's always an adventure trying to record stuff here at home. But anyway, that is marbling, guys.